So how did we meet? And all I remember were her big brown eyes and her luscious lips.
Okay.
Like actually dating was literally 6 weeks before she graduated.
Yeah, long distance. Do you have anything you want to say about long distance relationships? Even though we started dating, I guess, in college, we eventually moved apart, and so we went to different medical schools actually. And I was stalking him. I don't know why.
She was. But I mean, it was awesome. So it's like, again, even though we were doing long distance for a long time, we had a year where we were like nearby each other. Again, kind of like helped me see and confirm that, hey, this is the right person for me, you know? Yeah, once that was done, then it was more like, okay, we need to get our families involved, because in our culture, you're not just getting married to the person. It's like literally, like I'm getting married, your family is getting married to my family. So there are certain traditions that we do. And I think that's a great thing, because, you know, sometimes we just focus on our relationship, and while that's important, it's not just the only thing. Like we all have family. Like you have several siblings. I have several siblings that are younger than me. Yours were older. So it's just like, these people want to see you succeed and excel. They don't want you to just get married and have it fail. Like they're there to support you. They're to give you your advice. But at the end of the day, you know, her mom is her mom, and I respect her. And my mom is my mom, and she respects her. And my mom treats Nancy as a daughter, and her mom treats me as a son. And I mean, that's the most ideal situation that you can think of, you know? Yeah, long distance is doable, but it will be difficult if your primary love language is the physical.
Yeah, and I think also long distance in medicine is particularly difficult. I think what helped us is that we were both kind of on the same track. We were both in medical school doing the same thing. So he understood when I was really busy studying, because he was also really busy studying. So I think that like, if you are dating someone in medicine and you're long distance and you're not in medicine, that can be really, really hard, because it's hard to understand, you know, how engrossed you have to be in your studying and everything that comes along with medicine. But I think it helped that we were both doing the same thing, both super busy. So yeah.
I agree with what she said. You know, I know a lot of couples that where one partner was in medicine and the other wasn't. And what always comes up, or what always came up, was the person that was not in the medical field always felt like they were abandoned, or, you know, they were wondering if the other person was cheating on them because there was so much time spent on studying. Man, when you're in medical school and residency, you're literally married to your education. Like, that's it. So if you can't understand that, if you can't just find a way to work around that, maybe it's not the right thing for you. But I assure you that the way that they're studying and how hard they're working during medical school and residency, it's not going to be the same when they're done with all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like when you're done with your training, it'll be the first time in your life where you probably may have a 40-hour work week, if that's the case for you.
Yeah, depending on your specialty.
Yeah, depending on your specialty, obviously. But I think that if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody in medicine, you need to be equally as busy, or at least occupied with something, whether it's in the house or outside of the house. You know, like my sister is a lawyer. She's in a relationship with actually engaged to a surgeon. So like she's busy. Like they understand each other's busyness, you know, and so they can relate to each other with that regard. But if you have a partner who's not as active or busy with something, then of course that person will feel neglected, and nobody wants that, especially if they're in a relationship with someone they believe to be in love with, you know. So you gotta definitely sort that part out, you know. Either you find something to get yourself busy, or you're gonna have a rough time, you know. And then I think the hardest part of our long distance relationship was actually internship, because it was the first time when we were so busy. Like,
yeah, well, let's kind of get into that and kind of what transpired. So we actually got married our very last year of medical school, like literally the last couple of months of medical school. We graduated in May, and then we got married in April. So prior to getting married, we had gone through something called the match system, which I don't know, we've mentioned before, I think, on our channel. but it's a method for
It's an algorithm.
It's an algorithm for placing you into a residency position. And essentially, once you choose a specialty that you're interested in, you essentially interview at a number of different institutions across the nation, and then you make a ranking list of all of those institutions, so your top choice down to your last choice. And in the same way, all the institutions make a ranking of all of the applicants that they interview. So in the end, there's this algorithm where we don't
essentially they try to
like
they
match
pair you to the highest. Yeah, they call it the highest match possible, with your preference being the one that's the most important. So
so you essentially just get a position. That's match day. You get assigned to position. After this algorithm runs, you get a position. So you don't really have control over it other than ranking, your top choice, down to your last choice. And there's also something called the couples match that we participated in, where they try to...
Oh, it's the same thing. The only thing that's different about it is that we arrange things so that we are paired together or tied to an institution. So even though we do a couples match, I still can make a choice where I'm at one part of the country and she's in another part of the country.
Yeah.
It's just
like how you do your list.
Yeah, it's just how you pair it up. So it's just,
Yeah, well, needless to say, doing the couples match makes things a little bit more complicated. And he in particular was applying for a very competitive specialty. So he applied and matched into plastic surgery.
Which is a specialty where you just hope to just get into. Not even like, oh, I hope to get into my number one choice. You're like, I just hope to get into plastic surgery.
So the more competitive the specialty, the more difficult it is for you to essentially get your top choice or to even do the couples match. So long story short, we ended up matching at different places. He matched in the South, and I matched in the, Northeast.
Yeah, essentially flip-flop, literally flip-flop.
So it didn't work out in our favor. We were separated for our first year of residency or internship. So that was probably the hardest of, everything, just because...
Especially after getting married.
Yeah, exactly. So we got married, and then right after, a couple months, we, separated. We were really hoping to be together after getting married, after medical school. But I think that, that was the hardest, because internship, medical school is busy, but residency is a whole other piece, especially a surgical specialty. We were both in surgical specialties. So he matched into plastic surgery, and I initially matched into obstetrics and gynecology. And that we both actually switched specialties, which we will discuss if we haven't discussed it before in more detail. But that first year, that was the hardest.
Yeah, because it was the first time where everything was unpredictable. Your schedule's, you don't even have a schedule. It's just, your time is very unpredictable because people go into labor at various times. You're doing C-sections at random times. And then for me, I get consults in the ER, I'm in the OR, I'm in clinic. By the time I got back home, I'm just tired, man. I just would go sleep. I don't even know who this person was during interning. I don't know who she was,
It was hard.
It was rough. It was by far the hardest experience in my life, hands down. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can talk about that switch.
That should be another.
All of it.
That's another topic. but ultimately, we mentioned, she switched.
Yeah.
And we ended up in the right place together.
Yeah. So we're able to complete the remainder of our residency in the same place.
Yeah. We haven't been separated since then. It's not happening. So, so again, some things I want to recap for you. If possible, I recommend that you find your significant other in undergrad. It's everybody's different. I guess it kind of worked out for us because we both were mature already, in a sense.
Yes, not everybody is mature.
Yeah.
Not to say that. Just people have different paths of whatever,
Yeah.
You might not be in a space where you're thinking about or looking for a partner in undergrad.
Yeah.
Although I think I would recommend it if you, because it's sometimes just easier. You just have more choices. You're with so many different people.
Yeah.
I think the older you get and the further you get in your career, you just don't really get to meet people as often.
Exactly.
And you're working, you're not really, going out and meeting people. So medical school is also a great place to meet people. It's very common for doctors to marry other doctors. We saw it in our medical school, so that's also good.
So if you don't do it in undergrad, again, I am aware that undergrad is a place where most people find and explore themselves. I think that if you are in a relationship, like, be clear with the other person where you are. Like, some people are not ready to be serious, and I know people who are not serious, and that's fine as long as you guys are on the same page. If you guys are serious and ready to like put everything down, and that's good too, you know. If you don't find your person in undergrad and you so happen to go to grad school, well, that's your second opportunity. And I think the benefit, so there's pros and cons for it. The pro is that you'll be with like-minded individuals, so people who are already in the same discipline as you. And then med school kind of reminds me of high school in the sense that we moved together with the same group of people. So just like in high school, like, word gets around pretty quickly. So if you do something
like
funny,
who's dating who,
yeah, who's dating who gets around quickly, gossip spreads quickly, all that stuff that comes with it. Whereas undergrad is so large and you're like in so many different classes with different people, like, it's harder to keep track of that stuff.
Not everyone knows your business.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody kind of knows your business in med school, or probably even in grad school, depending on how you get it set up. And then I think the other pro is that it allows for a more intimate setting. So because everybody knows each other, like, when you guys are hanging out, like, you're probably going to talk about some more deeper things. And because, like, at least I'll say for med school, like, it's rough. So people just tell it how it is to each other. You know, we're not going to talk about all this stuff like in the public, you know. But people, we go through some common struggles and problems in med school, and we talk about it. So it allows for you, I think, people, whether it's a couple or friends, to bond even
and
better.
to be authentic with each other and to really, you know.
Yeah, I think that's the pro. If you don't find your significant other in medical school or in business or grad or whatever professional school you are going to, then obviously, like, there's work, although it's kind of tricky with work. But I will say that even in that work environment, like, I think the hard part is, you know, if you want to find somebody who's also professional, then you probably need to go to a lot of conferences, like at other, you know, states or whatever, like, so you can meet people, like, you network. If you are looking for somebody that's in your area, then you have to think about places where you run into people a lot. So maybe it's your Zumba class, maybe there's somebody, like, seriously, like, if you see them often, you can reach out and start talking to them. I don't know, but like, I'm not like a big fan of, hey, like, I'm going to the bar and I'm gonna get a drink and I see this person. It's a different, like, situation, because you're meeting them once and you're just either gonna put your best foot forward, or you're just not gonna care with whatever is going on afterwards, you know. Whereas, like, when you're in a setting where you're constantly seeing the person over and over again, like, you're getting a better sense of who they are or who they may be, and it allows you to be more of an authentic person without having to show only one side of yourself, you know, or the best side of yourself, we'll call it that. That's my 2 cents.
Anything else you want to add?
Yeah. So again, for those people who've gone through undergrad, medical school, still haven't found their significant other, there's still hope. It's a residency. And even, like, I know several people who have gotten married after meeting their significant other in residency, whether it was in the same specialty, I know at least 2 or 3 people in that situation, or in a separate specialty, because you're constantly interacting with the same people. See, again, you have that situation where you're interacting with people constantly. It definitely could work there. I will say the one caveat that I've heard from many women was that they felt that whenever they tried to date outside of medicine, they were afraid of the guy, or if they're interested in guys, that they were afraid of the guy being afraid to date them, or not willing to pursue or continue dating them because of the income that they're going to be making when they're done with their training. So I don't know what to say about that, other than, you know, I don't care about that stuff. You know, if you really love someone, or if you're really interested in someone, it doesn't matter how much they're going to make. Just because they make more money than you doesn't mean that you're going to be demasculinated or anything like that. You guys are a team. You make that stuff work together. You guys have your own plans. Like, the world doesn't even need to know what the situation is. It's just you and your partner. That's it. So for women, like, if these guys are not going to date you because they're afraid that they'll be demasculinated, or whatever the word is, I don't care.
I think
Emasculate, I don't care.
I think it's emasculating.
Just move on. You know, there's somebody that's willing to be there with you. So, but also like realistically, also look into people already in medicine too, just because they know what you're going through, and if that is truly an issue for some people, that's one way to kind of even out the playing field.
Yeah, good points.